Sometimes we just get too in our heads. We start to spiral and wonder, are we good enough? Is what we make good enough? Are we doing something that actively builds on the common zeitgeist? Are we providing criticism that could actually help or entertain people? Did we ever even matter in the first place? And then a show comes along and breaks through that miasma by being just a genuinely absurd, I'll say it, masterpiece of sheer idiocy. Ahoyhoy gang, if this is your first time with us, welcome, and if you're joining us from a previous video, hey, we love to see it, and I hope you're doing well. I ate a cereal bar, a cereal bar, totally normal cereal bar, and I was perusing the old Hulu in a fit of depression-fueled doom scrolling and came across a little series called Universal Basic Guys. Created by brothers Adam and Craig Malamut, Universal Basic Guys tells the story of two brothers that get let go from a hot dog factory and are replaced by robots so they get 3,000 big ones a month through UBI and wacky hijinks ensue. Oh, they use UBI, so it's a political show, right? Ha! You thought? Gang, this is not a complicated show. This is not a Venture Bros or an Archer or anything with any kind of complex narrative. The intro will remind you exactly what the setup of this show is, and it'll be stuck in your head like this annoying little brain worm. I have been walking around my apartment singing this damn intro for the last 2 weeks. If anything, I'm making this video to exercise myself of this tune. We're just Universal Basic Guys. It's so, I can't get rid of it. I can't escape this intro. Gang, this show has a 4.9 on IMDb and it's got a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, and get this, it's been renewed for not one, but at least 2 more seasons. So, are the critics right? Is this just more slop? Is this just another in a long line of bad animated series on Fox along the same lines as, say, Alan Gregory or, God forbid, Duncanville? Well, there's only one way to find out and 3 questions to be asked. What worked, what failed, what stolen valor, whale hunting, deer exploding, which board game hijinks will be curtailed? Oh yeah, you're in for a ride, my buddies. So buckle up or you'll be done as we review Season 1.
Universal Basic Guys.
As dumb as it is to say, I really appreciate that stupid theme song. It explains the setup so the show can take the time to actually focus on the characters, and they're a lot. Our main duo is Mark and Hank Hoagies, 2 Philadelphia Eagles superfans played by series creators Adam and Craig Malamut, respectively. Mark is a lazy, overly ambitious 45-year-old man married to a nurse Tammy, played by Talia Genevieve, and he thinks he's the best at everything, thinks he always knows best, and he's just absolutely insufferable all the time, which is his way. Hank is just really, really dim, but man, does he love hot dogs. Like Jughead is to hamburgers, what Hank is to hot dogs. He is down bad for Glizzy Nation. Man's brain operates on a deficit because 87% of its capacity is being used at any given moment to think about those sweet, sweet dogs in a strictly platonically affectionate way. I'll say it, we stan Hank. Hank is a moral compass of this dumb series. Hank is a glimmer of hope, the beacon of light shining in the darkness, and all he's doing to be this UBI-funded messiah is constantly thinking of those sweet, sweet dogs. Tammy is a nurse that very rarely believes in any of Mark's schemes, and for genuinely good reason, but it's her birthday, and Mark wants to get her something truly special when he finds out her doctor friend got her a spa day, and all he got her was a picture of her old dog in a pirate outfit off of Etsy. So he decides to go to the exotic pet zoo and buy something that'll really blow her socks off, a la Joe Exotic and honestly more so Doc Antle. We also meet Mark and Tammy's neighbors, David, played by Fred Armisen, and Andrea, David's wife and robot company PR director, played by Ali Maki. Is it ever really addressed that Andrea's company took Mark and Hank's jobs? Nope, because it doesn't need to be. You can put those pieces together, but Mark doesn't care, and if it's not Glizzy related, it ain't for my boy Hank. There's also another supporting character in Murph Man who shows up occasionally, and I'll say it, he perfects the friend group. There'll be an old guy and this weird neckbeard fella, but they are the most ancillary of ancillary characters. Murph Man? Now that's a supporting character with some hair on his chest. I'm gonna level with you here, gang. This was the first episode I watched. I know. Psychopathic to start a series with episode 1, but I did it like a fool. This episode is so boring. Shouldn't be, but absolutely is. Hank and Mark buy a diseased monkey. The monkey proceeds to tear Mark's face off. Hank bonds with said monkey when it starts talking through his phone. Mark refuses life-changing face reconstructive surgery because he doesn't want to be treated by the doctor that gave his wife the spa gift card. And when she finds the painting, she sees that he actually did put a lot of thought into a birthday gift for her, and you can tell he genuinely cares for his wife. He's horrible at showing it, but he does want to be the guy that impresses her, to get her the nice things. He thought he knew his wife, and admittedly, he did, but then he just started second-guessing himself and thought he had to go above and beyond to really make her happy. The, I guess, C story to this all is David helping Murph Man not get eaten by his pet snake. All of this should be entertaining, but it just sort of goes on. It's brain static after a point. White noise all the way down. Also, the animation is unique to say the least. Very, 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 very basic. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Shows like Royal Crackers used limited animation budgets and made something really, really amazing. Watch Royal Crackers on Max right now. Not sponsored, just a fan. And seeing the animation in the pilot, I just assumed it would improve as the series went on, and it never really did, but that's also kind of the point. The series is made by Bento Box, who does series like Bob's Burgers, Smiling Friends, Has-Been Hotel, etc. So I think it's more of a design choice than a budget thing, and I hate to admit it, but it really shines later in the series. I can't say skip this episode because weirdly enough it's integral to the viewing journey, but I can say this may be a slog, but it does get better. It's a necessary build-up for an eventual payoff. Pet Projects is a skateboarding dog endorsed 4 out of 10.
Universal Basic Guide.
Admittedly, I put the series down for a minute after that pilot, I'm not gonna lie to you, gang. I wrote the show off, said, nah, dog, this isn't for me. But that damned intro. Thanks to UBI, now we're Universal Basic Guys. It ingrained itself in my head. Every time I went to work on my Family Guy script coming soon, there they were, staring at me, taunting me. They had their hooks in my brain and they were pulling me back in. There was no escape from the siren's call of Universal Basic Guys. Gang, what if I told you? There is a considerable spike in quality just straight up into the second episode. Mark is fishing with Hank when they run into his rival, Steve frickin' Del Vecchio, who caught a sweet giant marlin and works for the Eagles. I am not from Philly. I am not an Eagles fan, but you better believe I know some, and look, I have a fondness for Chicago Party Ant. Because as a Midwestern boy, that series understands Chicago and the people of the old Chi-Town. Or is it the Bear? Is the Bear the restaurant, the industry, or the city? I don't know. I know Party Ant isn't the greatest show in the world, but it's good at what it does. And Universal Basic Guys is very, very Philly. Mark is determined to outfish Del Vecchio, but Tammy wants to go on a cruise, so he reluctantly goes and uses it as an opportunity to covertly fish while Tammy feuds with Del Vecchio's wife, Leanne. B story, Hank gets stood up on a date on the cruise and ends up meeting a cute girl who's actually a mermaid named Nori. Look, it's gonna sound so dumb, but hear me out. This was the moment I sort of realized the series was dumb by design. If we look at something like Mr. Bertram only season review available now, gone and hopefully forgotten, it is just blatantly flawed top to bottom and so poorly written they forgot Veterans Day is a federal holiday that almost every school traditionally has and has had off, which is an entire plot of an episode. Nori, on the other hand, is Japanese for seaweed. The mermaid's name is Seaweed. Now, I'm not over here saying Universal Basic Guys needs to be taught in script writing 101 or anything, but it took the time to actually include a creative pun that if you didn't get it, you weren't missing out. It's a dumb series by design. Mark catches something massive and is determined to reel it in, even when it's a humpback whale. The captain tries to tell him to cut it free, and he just digs in, determined to reel a giant whale in on a teeny little technologically advanced fishing rod. Don't worry, if this isn't enough for you, there's a D story about David, being premature with his party popper in the bedroom. David is an enigma. He is a very odd inclusion. I get it, but I don't. Fred Armisen is really the only reason David works the way he does, and I usually get tired of Fred Armisen characters pretty quickly. He's too well written for what he is. This show is too technically correct and this dumb at the same time. This was methodical. And we also start to see this creeping mysticism in the series. There's mermaids now, and next episode it goes even deeper. Oh, and Hank and Nori don't work out because Nori hates hot dogs. Instant deal breaker for the Hankinator. Sunset Cruise is a C-reclaimed 7 out of 10.
Universal Basic Guys.
The first time I saw this episode, I thought it was the dumbest thing imaginable. The second time, it is slapstick dumb art. Universal Basic Guys isn't some Bob's Burgers or Family Guy clone. Honestly, if I had to liken it to anything, it'd probably be Always Sunny, which makes a lot of sense for I can only hope obvious reasons. But it's the same The Gang Do X formula where it all just eventually goes sideways. But because it's animated, they can do weirder things. Example McFrickin' A. Mark wants to shoot Hank out of a cannon, but Hank rightfully thinks he's going to explode if they do. So Murph Man comes up with a solution. They buy a real doll to test it with. Only Mark sends it to David's house so Tammy doesn't get the wrong idea. Mark then goes to hang out with his stepson Darren and ends up chucking a boomerang into an old house, and they just so happen to release the Jersey Devil, who becomes friends with Darren, and Mark and Hank have to try and catch the Jersey Devil, or Hank will be used as a sacrifice by an elderly couple to seal the demon again. Got that? A lot of mysticism and weird Halloween-esque spooky stuff. Isn't that neat? What's the B story? Remember that real doll? Well, Mark's extra cheap crash test dummy arrives with white glove service on David's front step in front of his wife. And so he has to spend the entire episode trying to get rid of it. That is perfect. It is so uncomfortable the first time you watch it, but the more you see it, the funnier it gets. It's elevated slapstick. It's intentionally dumb in the best way. Haven't even talked about it, but this would be the first appearance of frequent guest star, that gear-loving John Glazer. The episode is absolutely fantastic, and it's very important to show that Mark does care about Darren and does want to be there for him, while also showing Mark is really, really, really dumb. Like, just kind of the worst sometimes. But he's got his bro Hank always encouraging him to do his best. It's very endearing in a way. The Devil You Know is a strawberry-flavored real doll consuming 8 out of 10.
Universal Basic Guys.
For over 3 years, you've trusted the Anime Academic to bring you critical analysis of all your favorite animated series. You may have even come to respect his great and powerful skills of media dissection. This will challenge that respect if it ever existed in the first place. You know what? I'm gonna almost swear just to emphasize it. I McFrickin' love Guys Day. I don't know why I keep saying McFrickin' in this video. They never say it. They never bring it up. It's not something people say in Philly. I just say that now. That's just something I say for some reason. I hate it. Mark is setting up for an entire day with the boys, doing guy stuff like men do. Some good old-fashioned dude time, you know? Tammy's going golfing and dreams of golfing at the men-only country club to do a first for womankind. This episode was not reviewed well. I need to be very, very clear on that. Anyway, Tammy wants to really make a change, and Mark just decides to get into Oak Ravine so Tammy can play on the golf course because, and this is what he says, because combating sexism is a man's job. Gang, I laughed so hard I was crying. Because he said it so damn earnestly. Whole chest out confidence, and it's glorious. He genuinely believes what he says. He is 100 all the time. So he manages to sneak his way into getting allowed into the country club and turns it into a dude bro party, upsetting the older founding members. Tammy gets recruited into a secret elite feminism league where they go around the world combating extreme sexism, and she is just utterly obsessed with just getting on the golf course. It really kind of shows why Tammy and Mark work. They get obsessive about their own issues and tackle them in their own, arguably self-destructive ways. Their love is messy, but you never get the feeling that they detest or even hate each other in any way. They're just two Philly sweethearts making it work. The episode is so dumb, but again in such a well-crafted way. We're still ascending. This is the climb, and man, this was the episode that turned me into a man dedicated to seeing this season through. Guys' Day is a feminism defending 9 out of 10.
Universal basic
As dumb as it sounds, I think this show really seems to work the best when it's focused on just Mark and Tammy. Exhibit McFrickin' A. I can't stop saying it. It's in my brain. Where royal crackers healed me, this broke me, and I don't know if I want to be fixed. After saving a man's life while getting wings, Mark gets jealous of Tammy and is determined to show he can save lives too. He and Hank sabotage a busy intersection and hang out to wait for the carnage. And when the firefighters show up to actually save the day using the Jaws of Life, Mark knows what he has to do. He gets his own Jaws of Life, reads 0 instructions, and just goes around town trying to help with these giant jaws. Meanwhile, the man Tammy saves starts showering her with gifts and becomes more and more obsessive until he's actively stalking her. And that's the episode. Mark failing to save people and then ultimately stopping the guy trying to take out Tammy. It's so much so quickly, but if Mark was even a little less obsessed with it, it wouldn't work. It would just fall apart into actual full-blown ash. This series depends on Mark being kind of the worst in an oddly endearing way, and Hank just needing to mac on some glizzies. These are not complex characters, but by God, they work for what they are. The other fascinating thing is the show frequently references earlier episodes. For a broadcast TV animated series, that's honestly fantastic. Of course not unheard of by any means, but just shows they hope people are watching in order and rewarding them for sticking around. The jokes are also getting much sharper. The delivery is down-packed, there's no real slips in vocal performances, and everyone seems to be really emotive and enjoying their roles. And if you look in the background, you will see some very, very rough character designs, but that's the point. They're simple. The backgrounds are simple, and honestly, you can even look at the TVs in the bar scenes. They're not perfectly straight. There are squiggles around them. The series isn't squiggle vision, but it's showing that it's very intentionally rough around the edges. This is not a complex show. This is a well-designed basic show. A universally basic show about two guys. I smell toast. Jaws of Life is a kid-saving, muffin-gifting 7 out of 10.
Universal basic
Obligatory Eagles episode. Always Sunny has done more than a couple, and if you're worth your salt and you're in a large U.S. city, you have to have episode featuring prominent sport team. So of course, UBG had to go to an Eagles game. Honestly, if they didn't have an episode featuring the Eagles in some way, since Mark was such a big fan, I'd call this show specifically a hack fraud. Mark and Tammy take David with them to the game, and David has no idea how to be a fan, even wearing a New York Giants apparel in the Eagles section. Of course he's a Giants fan. Hank gets put into the mascot costume after the mascot gets injured and becomes a sort of mascot Terminator before he's captured by a bunch of talking footballs and is saved by the Eagles kicker. And Mark buys a Super Bowl ring off the internet to schmooze with the Eagles and upset his rival Del Vecchio, who quote-unquote earned his Super Bowl ring with his administrative work. Mark keeps faking it till he makes it to coaching the Eagles and costing them the game. And this is when you really start to see that everyone knows Mark is a moron. He's just so confident people don't think about it initially, but they understandably crash out when they realize he's been messing with them the entire time. I love that Mark isn't just an always lovable guy that sometimes messes up. He always screws up. That's who he is. That will always be who he is. He is dangerously confident, and it makes his character shine. Birdcage is a Giants defending 8 out of 10.
Universal basic
Where Guys' Day made me want to finish the season, Fight or Flight has converted me. I need to see every episode of this show hoping and praying for another episode that comes even remotely close to this. I talk a lot about episodes series were made for, and Fight or Flight is the magnum opus of UBG. Mark has a flight simulator and loves doing a barrel roll as his signature move because he's a swoon pilot. They all have to fly to see Hank and Mark's uncle's funeral. Let's just get the C story out of the way first so we can focus on the meat and cheese. David wants to have kids with Andrea, but she doesn't want to take out her IUD, so he takes her niece and nephew around to show what a good dad he could potentially be, and they loathe doing anything that's not on their phones. It's such a bizarre story that really clashes with the main focus. It's there, and you have my blessing to fast forward through it to get to the good stuff. Tammy feuds with a plain Karen who is just the absolute worst and even gets into a fight with her in the skies. Hank is detained and questioned at the airport because his suitcase is just 200 hot dogs, and they think he might be a domestic bad guy, because what psycho would do that? Don't worry, he has a flak jacket of buns and mustard under his clothes because of course he McFrickin' does. And Mark, always the icon, brings peanuts on the plane because they're the snack of the skies, even though they're banned for good reason. He starts talking shop with the pilot about all the planes he's flown in a totally real situation and definitely not a simulator, and he gets to sit in the cockpit with the pilots. Do you see it yet? It's like the Cat in the Hat sneaking up with a bat. Sure enough, one of the pilots has a peanut allergy and the other has a heart attack when Mark accidentally jams an EpiPen in his neck, so Mark has to fly the plane solo. Okay, generic dumb character has to land the plane with the help of control and wacky hijinks ensue. No, you dumb stupid moron. You think the series follows your rules, your tropes? Did you guess Mark does the opposite of everything Control tells him to do and turns off autopilot so he can do the landing legit? It's just, John Glazer plays the control tower operator and his performance clenches this episode. He is so baffled, frustrated, at a total loss, and you can hear the rage in his performance. And Hank is just sitting there cheering Mark on, and it's incredible. It is fantastic. The barrel roll in a commercial airline at the end was the piece de la resistance. Even at the end of the episode, what does he do? He tries to barrel roll his car to get around a parking barrier. This is the perfect stoner comedy. This episode made me believe this could be an Adult Swim show. I was cracking up so hard, I scared my wife. She was mortified. It was art. Fight or Flight is a simulation defying 10 out of 10.
Universal Basic Guys.
Episode's fine. Just kind of okay. David wrote a story from the perspective of a teen slave, despite the fact he's old and white, and when his favorite author is coming to town, he has to write a news story, so he runs away to Mark's cabin in the Poconos. Only problem is, Mark took the family up for a classic hoagie holiday weekend. After Mark gets banned off the slopes for taking a tube down a Black Diamond Run, the family decide to go through board games and end up playing a magical board game found in the spooky cellar, where they have to find the witch and a bunch of ghosts make a courtroom for them. Mark doesn't believe in teamwork and sorta charges his way through while Tammy tries to get him to listen, and Darren is the only one actually paying attention to the bigger picture, even finding out the Hoagies have witches in their family, which again adds even more mystical elements that didn't really need to be included. David asks a black girl that was accused of being a witch in the 1800s if his story was historically accurate, and when she tells him it's just kind of boring, but yeah, it is accurate, he starts to spiral. She tells him to make something that he just wants to write, and he ends up making the super violent zombie story that mortifies the author, and Mark and his family come together to solve the riddle and pick the very obvious witch is the witch, and actually Mark and Hank's great-great-aunt. It's a lot, and while not all that funny, it is kind of a conclusion to the family's arc for the season. They all got a little bit closer, and Mark even told Darren he loves him. It's wild to me that they were referencing past episodes in this one, and it all sort of accumulated in Mark making some noticeable growth. Sure, it's only within the family, but it's something. No matter what he does, you can tell he cares for Tammy and Darren. And that's what makes Mark such an endearing character in a way. Yeah, he's gonna mess up, but he's never doing it to get away from his family, he's just trying to get rich. Poconos is a zombie hunting 6 out of 10.
Universal Basic Guys.
I really didn't want this episode to exist. Mark entertains a kid in a restaurant as Cupcake Man and does a whole song and dance to make them laugh. It's very small, but here's where we see a very important side to Mark. When he's done performing and the kid is happy, he doesn't ask the mom to pay him, he just says the cupcakes he used to make the kid laugh should be free. He wants the attention, the fame, but he'll still do good things for the sake of doing good from time to time. Well, he believes he can make Cupcake Man go viral, and they do a whole video that kids absolutely love, but he gives up because he doesn't see initial success. He starts to take off, but when someone leaves a mean comment, he spirals and wonders if it's ever going to be good enough for everyone to enjoy his work again. He starts to second-guess himself and fine-tunes his work into being something way too experimental with the help of Andrea as his marketing agent. He keeps being told to just do what makes him happy, make what he's passionate about, to not betray his creative vision because one guy wasn't happy. Again, the show is too smart to appear just dumb. It's perplexing. This is finely crafted idiocy. This is methodical morality. And yeah, the old saying is true. One bad comment stings more than 10 positive comments feel great. You start second guessing yourself when you keep putting out content and nothing moves. You start to spiral and try to pull yourself up, and each day it gets a little bit harder. But you know you have to, if only for yourself. If only because you have the best viewers anyone could ask for, and if you can make them laugh, well, damn it, that's good enough. There's a genuine passion at the core of this episode that didn't need to be there. A genuine hope in a better tomorrow. I hate to say it, but Mr. Cupcake Man fixed something in me. It was the episode that actually inspired me to make this video. Not fight or flight, this. It made me realize the importance of taking a step back and just making something for the sake of making something. Not everything has to be a viral hit. Sometimes you just have to get your thoughts out there. Mr. Cupcake Man is a frosted and fulfilled 9 out of 10. Oh, and the B story has David doing a really bad magic act. Boom, done.
Universal basic
Tammy gets a new haircut to be true to herself, and it's just the worst. Murph Man was being hunted by a loan shark who ends up getting in an accident and crushed in a garbage truck and ends up in the hospital, so Murph Man has to convince Tammy to let him pull the plug on a horrible man. She, of course, stops him because she's an inherently good person. I'm surprised this episode is so poorly received because it's honestly the perfect realization of the UBG formula, even if the execution is a little wonky. Mark and Hank are eating out when a bunch of marketing guys hand out free beer, and Mark is determined to show he could totally be like one of those madmen ready to take names and set up the biggest business contracts known to man. So he and Hank end up as interns, and while Hank does everything that they ask him to do and makes friends, Mark is tossing back scotch at 11 a.m. and doing power moves like throwing laxatives in the coffee to show he's not messing around. Sure enough, Mark gets fired, and Hank keeps climbing in the corporate ranks, but quits because he can't work weekends and miss watching the third round of draft picks with his bro. The hitman wakes up from his coma and mocks Tammy, so when he tries to yank his own life support plug, she lets him and he croaks. The episode is paint by numbers, but it follows the formula they've built over the last 9 episodes to a T. They have slowly yet steadily crafted these characters to the point that nothing they do is truly unbelievable. It's not a perfect episode, but that last scene sold me on the whole thing. When the executive's daughter gets new eyes thanks to the hitman dying, she has these giant, horrific blue eyes and terrifies Murph. It's so short, but it's amazing. It's not what you'd expect at all, and it really clenches the episode as a whole. There's that really dark humor that's been bubbling to the surface, and I'm really kind of here for it. Mark Men is an ad tat sporting 8 out of 10.
Universal basic
Mark is determined to show he can handle the military when he's taunted by a Marine played by Rob Riggle. He and Hank sign up for reserve service while determined to pass the BUDS training of the elite Navy. They sneak into BUDS and oh my god. When Mark can't make his bed and gets forced to do it in front of the whole squad, he panics and bails, developing PTSD from not being able to efficiently make his bed. David is helping Jack the Marine write his memoir, and he's telling him about these small blue guys in a Stargate. David thinks he's crazy, so Jack takes him to this magical land and they get kidnapped. So a not Sylvester Stallone character recruits Mark, thinking Eagle Eye has some sort of PTSD from being out in the field, not, failing to make a bed, and has him join this kind of Expendables team. I don't know. I personally would say this is the bridge too far. This is where the show just goes a little bit too absurd with the Space Gate and, the evil Smurfs and everything. It feels experimental, but less in a we have a really great idea for something that could be really inventive, like, say, the American Dad Twilight Zone episodes, and more in like a field testing, hey, do you guys like weird sci-fi stories too? Or do you just want us to stick with ghosts and witches and whatnot? That kind of, just sort of, hey, audience, are you liking this? This is the audience feedback episode if there ever was one, and honestly, it really does lose a lot of its steam in the second act. Of course, Hank is a pro soldier and a registered weapon, but also, it just feels predictable in this episode. They usually handle the Hank twist really, really well, but lately, I don't know. I feel like he didn't need to be doing this at all, but also it makes sense that he would. He's a frustrating character to me, but we love Hank. Hank is good people. The episode just overall is very fine. Sheet Shock is a middling, schmiggle bottom storytelling 5 out of 10.
Universal basic
I can't even show you part of this episode because it's probably one of the most graphic things I've ever seen on a broadcast TV show, and I was wheezing. Mark is determined to be a hunter with a brand new crossbow, and Hank is his gatherer. They go into the woods and run into Doug Davidson, who definitely didn't kill his wife and is totally just a survivalist, you guys. He's just hanging out there. Stop asking questions. Mark messes up and ends up making it rain arrows like he's an Ashmain, and Doug gets taken out. He starts to panic, and then he rationalizes that Doug totally took out his wife. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't doubt that before. I always believed he was a bad guy. Therefore, he's not a hunter of deer. He is now a hunter of men. A bounty hunter. Even boldly walking up to cops and taking credit for taking out this monster. And then proceeds to get arrested because, of course, he does. It's just sometimes Mark is just a more unhinged Dale from King of the Hill, and I honestly don't hate it. But for once, the Mark and Hank story takes away, you heard it, from the David story. David has a garden that he wants featured on TV, but the deer keep eating his vegetables. So he tries all kinds of holistic solutions, and they just keep mocking him. They mock him because he's vegetarian, according to Murph. So eventually he does turn to Murph Man when all of his holistic solutions fail, and he helps him install a spiked fence. Can you see where this is going yet? They do a live news broadcast, and after Mark scares the deer with his grenade, they just start bolting for David's, and one after another just gets impaled again and again. Blood splatters on the eggplants, and I'm just over here baffled this scene was allowed to air. It is so much, so fast, and yet I couldn't look away. They even end the episode with Murph throwing a deer in Tammy's hot tub in a frickin' sous vide bag. It's just, again, way too smart for a dumb show. Deer Steaks is an impaled and innocent 9 out of 10.
Universal basic
And here we are, the season finale. The episode opens with a flashback to Mark and Hank working at their dad's shop in the 90s, and Mark was just as insufferable with his frosted tips. He got a Dippin' Dots machine that cost a fortune and spent all of his dad's savings on definitely not Beanie Babies that will absolutely accrue value over time. His dad proceeds to be absolutely disappointed in his son and have a massive heart attack. It really emphasizes how Mark's horrible decisions can absolutely ruin people and that he's not good at any of this. He's lazy and delegates any work that actually requires effort, but he is a wonderful idea guy with a brain that's just eagle stats layered on top of each other. We then get the focus of the episode, the water ice shop. I love that the Water Ice Shop is just basically a snow cone place run by brothers Barry and Gary, with Gary being played by everyone's favorite Candy Island hunting Lil Gideon voicing creator of Flapjack, the incredible Thurup Van Orman. He honestly brings the whole episode together and I love it. Mark offers to help run the shop for them to be open year-round, and Barry hates the idea, but Gary is on board so he can pursue his passions and try to cultivate new flavors. Sure enough, Mark does a ton of horrible ideas and throws Gary into a full-blown heart attack, you ought to know by now. The B story has Hank dealing with a homeless guy that refuses to leave the bathroom, but through his kindness, the homeless man is able to get his mood stabilizers and get his life back together again, and offers to make Gary and Barry very rich. They end up using Andrea's robots to boost their production 100-fold, and the episode ends with Mark and his family being fired from the shop because, yeah, they did nothing but cause a ton of problems. The only one you could say that helped at all would be Hank, and he was brought on to do the one thing that he never really got to do, clean the bathroom. They even get a dad bod at the end of the episode that ends up having a heart attack seeing all the shenanigans Mark got into throughout the season to really hammer home that Mark is not some secret genius. He is genuinely the worst at this. And we watch not because we relate to him, but because he's entertainingly horrible at it. He's not irredeemable, but he's just kind of the worst to most people. He has a loving family that he loves and supports. He's got friends that he believes in and believe in him, but his schemes, they are not the brightest. Water Ice Shop is the best finale a season of this show could ask for. Every element works, it feels like an earned conclusion for the show as a whole, and even circles back to the robots doing the work while they make passive income. If this was a government psyop to make people more open to the idea of UBI, I would not be surprised, because it's not mocking UBI, it's just stating that that's why they can just sort of do their own thing. It works. The show just kinda works. I don't know what you want from me. Water Ice Shop is a free pumpkin spice ice supplying 9 out of 10.
Universal Basic
And there we have it. That's season 1. Anything you think I was right on? Wrong on? What was your favorite episode? Least favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you saw, consider liking, subscribing, and telling your friends. We're out here. Universal Basic, guys, is not complicated. It's not going to make you a better person if you watch it, but it's certainly not going to be a waste of your time either. If you want a truly satisfying stoner comedy, it's probably going to check all the boxes you need it to check. Dumb slapstick, wildly overconfident characters, glizzy glorifying, and of course, John Glazer. Man loves his gear. Am I waiting with bated breath for the new seasons? No, absolutely not. Was I pleasantly surprised by the show that I would have written off after that abysmal first episode? Oh, absolutely. Do I think it needs 2 more seasons? Probably not, no, but I'm definitely more than a little intrigued by what those Universal Basic guys are gonna be up to next time, and where Hank's glizzy love will take him next time. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here at the Lecture Hall, and if you want to support the channel, consider joining our membership or Patreon programs today. $2 a month gets you your name on this list that comes up sometimes, and elite your super cool points. Because I have absolutely dropped the ball on that in its entirety, and I just want to absolutely take this time to thank you all that have stuck around from the bottom of my heart. You guys have been incredible, and I do not deserve such incredible members and patrons that have stuck around, even though they have not gotten any extra content, and that is my failure, and I am trying my absolute damnedest to change that. Just know that every one of you is appreciated and valued, and I am so glad to have the audience I have. I know it's been a long time since I put out a video. We are gonna, get more traffic out there. I'm doing more streams. We're trying to build up the channel, trying to bring some life into it. So hopefully I will have some patron exclusive projects here very shortly. Even some podcasts if you want to see the academic actually talking about movies here and there. Anyway, so the Common Side Effects video didn't do all that great. Who cares? We're going to keep pushing on and keep climbing. Thank you all so much for watching. And remember, now more than ever, it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to take time for yourself and let yourself heal. Even if you just woke up today, know I'm proud of you and it will get better. A rising tide lifts all ships, and I can feel one hell of a wave a-comin'. And it sounds a little like... Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.